Guys, when was the last time you listened to the Fire Temple music from Ocarina of Time?
That would be the last time I played Ocarina of Time.
I think that's the same for me as well.
Yeah, we're in agreement there.
What version of Ocarina of Time did you both play?
Mine was the GameCube. Obviously GameCube, but played it on the Wii. I haven't played it on the DS version though.
Yeah, I was going to say mine's the 3DS version because that's the one I've got easy access to.
Okay, have you both played the N64 version?
Yes.
Well, I've still got mine.
No, I haven't played the N64 version. I think I played a little bit when I was like very, very young, but nothing about it. No.
So I said it and I was like, well, Chris is definitely going to say yes. So I was listening. I was at work today. Although it's Easter Monday, I still had to go into work and I got paid lovely money. But while I was there, I listened to a podcast because a podcast episode by a podcast that started following us, called the Play Cube Gamecast, and one of their recent episodes is about Ocarina of Time, and it's about an hour and a half. And as I was going through, they were like, well, Ocarina of Time's been spoken about dozens of times, and they just wanted to talk about the music. And as they were talking about the music, they mentioned the Fire Temple. So in the original version of the N64 version, the Fire Temple music is different than every other version of Ocarina of Time.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
So, in the N64 version of Ocarina of Time, the Fire Temple music has chanting. This chanting is...
Ah, yes, I know this story, but carry on. Yeah, go on.
Is Islamic chanting that Nintendo...
Really?
Yeah, that Nintendo took out. I think it must have been soon... I think it was, I can't remember what was said just earlier, but I think some of the later N64 copies don't have it on, but some of the early ones do. Or maybe I've just got that completely wrong, and the N64 versions do have it, and that's it. But there's still kind of chanting in the later versions, but it's not very, it's more dulled down, and there's not, but in the original, because I listened to both versions on the way home from work today, and you can hear the chanting it's quite vivid, not vivid, but it's you can definitely tell that there is when you can tell there's a difference between the two versions of this music.
Yes, so the chanting in it is basically the reading out religious scripture, which people will find offensive because is it from the Quran?
I don't know anything more than what was said on this podcast episode, which is a really good podcast episode by Play Cube Gamecast I listened to. But
I've seen this mentioned on Did You Know Gaming?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I was like, when you hear something sometimes, you're doing something and you have to stop and you're like, wait, what? Is that true? That's what I was like. I was like, I can't believe this. It's my favourite Zelda game and I didn't know this. So, yeah.
You know what? I don't think I've actually paid a lot of attention to a lot of the Ocarina of Time music, but now that you mention it, I'm probably going to be very inclined to go back and just listen to it just to find out. Is the original track on YouTube somewhere?
Yeah, I can link you it. Both versions are on YouTube because I listened to both versions on the way home. So I'll just link you it.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, it's so. A orchestra I follow on Spotify, they've covered the whole of the Ocarina of Time soundtrack, and their version of Fire Temple combines both versions of the Fire Temple from N64 and then the later versions. So although it has kind of both chants, but it's more it obviously their version of the original chant, but it's quite interesting to see how they've mixed both versions together. So yeah, no, that was something interesting I found out today, and I was like, oh, there you go.
I suppose since we're on this subject, we may as well ask, guys, do you have a favourite track from Ocarina of Time?
Ooh.
See, mine will be easy. Mine's the just the boss fight music.
Oh, that is good.
But specifically so, the opening few notes. Wait, because it like really sets the tone. It's like, oh shit, son, you just woke up the boss. Time to get real.
See, I quite like the I'd say Saria soundtrack.
Oh, Saria
and the Saria song and the Forest Temple soundtrack.
Oh, the Forest Temple soundtrack's great. I think I've spoken about the Forest Temple song before on an episode long ago where it reminds me of what was it, Midnight City? I can't. Is it? It might be them. One of their big track when they came out in 2011. It reminds me of that song. But I think my favourite track is either maybe I don't know, maybe Gerudo Valley, but I always like Temple of Time. I like the whole soundtrack so much, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if I was to choose one for definite, it's got to be the Forest Temple.
Well,
hands down.
Oh,
fair enough. How diverse.
Yeah. Well, you learn something new every day.
I don't. I'm forgetting stuff.
Welcome to Victory Achieved Podcast, a video game podcast. It is a lovely Easter Monday. Obviously, you're hearing this 2 weeks later, but who cares?
That's how time works.
I'm Dan, and I'm with Brandon and Chris. And,
Hello.
Hello. Well, he's not with us. He's far away from me.
No, yeah, we're all quite far away.
Yeah.
But close in other ways.
Well then.
Brandon, don't show me where we touched you.
I meant by the fact that we're all in the same city, but alright.
Yeah, sure you did.
Well, you made it weird.
That's what we do.
I was saying, you said, well, we are closer in other ways.
In saying it was the same city.
Usually, if you sort of say it in that connotation, you're saying like you're more emotionally closer to someone rather than physically in the realms of physical distancing.
Oh, you know, we're now on episode 25. I would have thought we're definitely more emotionally attached to each other than when we were with episode 1.
I'll get back to you on that when we do our 1 year special.
Well, that won't be too far away now, boys. But yeah. So, shall we begin with a video game film?
Yeah, I think we should.
So, Chris and I went to see Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
We did indeed.
What did you think?
I was going to say, is that it?
Oh,
that's it.
Oh, that was it.
You saw a film.
Yeah.
Okay. Where to start? All right. So, bear in mind, I watched the first film a couple of years ago. I did not rewatch it before walking into the theatre to see it. So my recollection of it's a little bit rusty. All I really remember is it was all right. I didn't hate it. I went in with extremely low expectations, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. With the second one, and I think a lot of people feel like this, feel about the same way. it was all right. I think I prefer this one more to the first one, just because hell, it's got Knuckles and Tails in it. I mean, come on. And like for me, every bit where Robotnik's on the screen, like Jim Carrey, is a delight. I think him and Knuckles like play off each other quite well.
Yeah.
So overall, for a Sonic film, and I know it's a kids' film, I'd say it's pretty decent. Given I'm not essentially the target demographic, but that said, I did notice every single Easter egg they popped in it. They thought they could get by me. Nope. they've got in the film. There's a coffee shop where they like Robotnik's got a secret lab base thing, and it's called the Mean Bean. And I even leant over to Dan and was like, "That's Mean Bean Machine. I get that. I understand that reference." But you could sneak that by me? No chance. Fucking love that game. Yeah, but there is one big problem I have with it. And again, every review I've seen of it since has pretty much pointed out the same thing. There's a part about 3/4 of the way for the film where it focuses heavily on just the human characters and not Sonic or Robotnik at all. And it goes on for like a solid, what felt like 5-10 minutes. And it's just got nothing to do with the rest of the plot at all. It's just like another script has just jumped in. And it was really okay if it only lasted like 30 seconds to a minute, but it goes on for like 10 minutes. I had to remind myself, like, I'm watching a Sonic film, right? This seems to be a crap rom-com all of a sudden. What the fuck's supposed to do with everything? Can we just take this out? It's not needed. And initially I thought, oh, maybe it's to like build up the runtime, because these films can like take 90 minutes, they're going to fill up the time. But the runtime's actually like 2 hours and 2 minutes. Quite long. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't really build anything. Plus, there's also another section, which being a kids' film, there's a dance number, and it just does not need to be there. But again, it's a kids' film. Every single kids' film seems to need to have a dance section for some reason, no matter how arbitrary it is.
I wouldn't say necessarily it didn't need to be there. But I think I can see what they went for, what like the outcome they wanted. I think maybe they could have done it in a different way. But then I can see why they did it as a dance number, as it was a kids' film.
Someone else mentioned, I can't remember who, said, I wonder if this script's been knocking around for a while, because when they play the dance music, it's like Bruno Mars that comes on, and then there's like a reference to like The Rock and Vin Diesel. It's like, is this film meant to come out in like 2016? There's a little bit behind the times. But that said, I did enjoy it. I like the references they snuck in, and it also features a song by Pantera, like during the climax. It's very brief, but all of us, like me, Dan, and like the two mates, we all like sort of stood to attention. It's like, the fuck? What's Pantera doing here? This is a kids' film.
And then this
song's got swearing in it.
And then you just see Jim Carrey dance to Pantera, and you're like, well, even if everything else is like whatever you feel about this film, if you thought it was crap, the fact that you get to see Jim Carrey dance to Pantera just makes it regardless.
Yeah, but now I've got it in my head canon throughout the entire series that Robotnik's really into heavy metal. Well, I suppose he does build robots all the time, and big giant ones. So yeah, that is pretty heavy metal.
Jim Carrey's gone on record to say he likes metal.
Does he? I don't know. So.
Oh, you not seen that clip where he like impersonates loads of metal singers?
No, I've seen like his old stuff where he's like where he's doing like his face shoots, but like from the start of his career. I've seen that kind of stuff. But no, so just for that section alone, it gets like 100 out of 10.
Nah.
But yes, I thought the climax were good. It actually got a few laughs out of me, which I wasn't expecting. Because I just went in with low expectations. I thought, oh, I wasn't necessarily going to plan on seeing the film, but because Dan asked Nancy if I wanted to go see it, I was like, yeah, fuck it, sure, I'll go see it. It was timed well because I could go see it after work. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go see it. I'm glad I did.
Well, I think I agree on most of your points. I think I liked it a bit more than you, Chris, but most of your points I agree on. Maybe the dance number was a bit out there. Maybe it could have been changed for something else. The human bit nearly towards the end did feel like a completely different film to a certain degree. It was setting up other things, but it was like, well, you could have done it differently. But I thought Tails there was very likable. Same with Knuckles. Knuckles was just being Knuckles, as you know. Same. I think all the three of them were like played quite well off each other and just felt like how they kind of act in like the games. And same with
here's a comparison. Like Knuckles in the film, like he's not dumb, but he's a little bit gullible. But did you think his personality was pretty much spot on with Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy?
I was about to say the same thing. He was a little bit like Drax.
Idris Elba as Drax. I'd watch that in a heartbeat, and I kind of did, I guess.
Yeah. But Jim Carrey was just perfect once again. I have a really soft sweet spot for the first Sonic the Hedgehog film. I actually rewatched it back in February, I think. Yeah, back in February when I was building the furniture for my room. I put it on and I had an absolute blast rewatching it while building my furniture. So the first one was still quite fresh, and it was nice to see the second one. I think one thing I was slightly disappointed was that the post-credit scene in the first film is in the second film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the exact same scene. Like, it's not changed at all. Which I was a little bit like, oh, so it's not anything new. They just recycled that clip. That's a bit lazy, but oh well. But as you said, like the final section, like the final battle was pretty interesting, cool. Like the bit where they were going through the temple was really funny and exciting to watch. And like the banter between a lot of the characters was really good. Like as you said, like the Easter eggs, some of the robots, I was like, oh, it's that robot from Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, it's that robot from Sonic the Hedgehog. So I think maybe for us two compared to, I don't know, to some other people, we would probably got a lot more of the Easter eggs and stuff like that. But
yeah, this one seemed to have a lot more references to the game than the first one, I think. Especially in Robotnik's like designs, like in this one, he's kind of got his like Eggmobile type thing, but in this one it's way closer to the game.
Yeah. Obviously, he's bold now, so he looks very, very much like he does in the games.
It looks the part. Although what I was expecting, but never happened. I was expecting the bit where he puts on like a ton of weight, or like a post credits bit where he's suddenly gets like a lot chunkier, like he is in the games. Because like the end of the first one, he ends up on the mushroom planet and goes bald. So I was expecting him to be banished somewhere else, and he has to consist on I don't know, eggs or something. So he gets really chunky.
that first bit on the mushroom planet was so funny.
Although it's never confirmed as like Mushroom Hill Zone, but I think that's how everyone's interpreted it.
Probably. Yeah.
I know I did. Right. So Sonic 2. Yeah, I think it's a recommendation from both of us.
Obviously, there's other things that happen in the film, but we're going to keep quiet until so that people can see it. But there's still some other nice surprises to look forward to.
Yeah.
No, it's I enjoyed it. I think the more I think about it, I think I do prefer it over the first film. But I think when it came out, I wasn't sure. I think I did prefer the first one, but I think the more I think about it, I think the second one is better.
I do feel a lot of the times when people ask you, like, when as soon as you've seen a film, as soon as you come out of cinema, it's like, what do you think? And I'd say about 50% of the time, whatever you say might get turned on its head after you've had a bit more time to think about it.
Yeah.
You think? Because that's when you start thinking about plot holes, or somebody else will point something out, and you're like, hang on a moment.
Oh, yeah.
It's, yeah, because a lot of films sometimes just don't hold up as well as you think they do on like a second showing. Especially like because everything's like new the first time you see a film, but when you rewatch it, once you've got prior knowledge, that's when you start noticing like continuity errors.
Oh
Stuff
yeah.
like that. It's like, hang on, how come they got from there to there? That doesn't make sense. It's like, how come he knows that when nobody's mentioned it? That kind of...
Yeah, just like how Indiana Jones is irrelevant in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just like
yeah, he
that.
didn't do anything. Yeah. In fact, it might have been better had he not been there at all. Because the Nazis would have found the Ark of the Covenant and just opened it sooner, and it would have resolved itself.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That's ruined that film for anyone who's not realised it.
Oh, it's however many years old. There you go.
Yeah.
But no, Bran, have you seen any of the Sonic Hedgehog films?
No, I haven't. When it first came out, I wanted to see it, but I just never got round to, to watching it.
Well, the first one's on Netflix. There you go.
Is it?
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah.
It's not long been added. So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there you go, boys and girls. He'll watch it soon.
Although,
Actually,
I was going to I'll let you go first, Chris, because I'll let you go first, Chris, because I'm going to completely change the tangent.
I'll just very, very, very quickly point out, because this one sort of farted out, but if you haven't seen it as well, the last James Bond, No Time to Die, has come on Amazon Prime as well.
Oh,
yes, I saw that.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I think I know exactly what you're going to change the tangent to, Brandon. So just before you do, I have actually played. Yes, guys, I actually played a game that isn't Elden Ring.
Is it Skyward Sword?
No. I played Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So I guess just before you completely change things, Brandon, I played Sonic the Hedgehog 1 originally, the original Sonic the Hedgehog 1 game, because I got it on my Switch, because I bought it, I think soon after I got my Switch, actually, I bought it, and I decided after watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I decided to play it again, because the last time I played it confused me. I gave it to a kid, because they wanted to play Sonic, and they couldn't seem to work it. And when I was like, then I said to them, "Oh, give it here, and I'll sort it." And then even I was confused. I was like, "What is going on?" And so it kind of put me off playing it. And then I picked it up after seeing Sonic 2, and I realised they just weren't pressing the right buttons, and it was just going on to like how when you go onto a game, sometimes it'll give you like a quick demo of the game. Obviously, you don't play it. It was just doing that constantly, and I was like, oh, it was just that. But finally, I was actually going forward with Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I've done like 4 of the like levels. Like obviously, you got 3 stages in each. I've been going through them. Save states are a lifesaver. So yeah, it's been pretty fun. Although I don't know if it's me, but I didn't think some of the levels in Sonic 1 weren't as fast paced as I thought they were.
Oh no, they're not. The only 2 stages that are fast paced are Green Hill Zone, which is the one everyone remembers, like the first stage, because it's so iconic, and Spring Yard Zone.
Yeah.
Other than that, very stop.
Yeah.
Labyrinth, you underwater. Marble Zone, you're just pushing blocks and waiting for it to
Marble
move.
Zone was so slow. I couldn't believe it.
And Spring Yard Zone, not Spring Yard, Scrap Brain Zone, actively forces you to stop because if you go too fast, you just fall down like instant death pits and straight into objects that you can't see coming unless you know they're there.
I think I just assumed that, like, the game was just so fast and you'd be like blitzing through all these levels, but no, I couldn't believe how much platforming I had to do. I was like, am I playing Mario right now?
Well, on the contrary, when I see like people like on Twitch like speed running Mario, or specifically Mario World, you move so much faster in that.
Yeah, they're like playing it more like Sonic than some of the Sonic levels.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've been really enjoying Sonic 1, but I think I always struggled on Sonic, and like now I'm like actually going through it. I was like, this is not what I envisioned. But it's not like it's just maybe surprised me more than like, oh, it's a disappointment. I'm just like a bit gobsmacked, but I'm like looking forward to like going through each level and each stage and going through it and beating Robotnik, the Eggman. So yeah, but no, it's Sonic 1's great. Like the music in each stage is absolutely fantastic. I still think that Green Hills, the music for Green Hill Zone is my favourite Sonic piece of music.
Or from all the games.
Yeah, I think it is my favourite bit of music from the Sonic games, and I love the Sonic music. I think the Sonic games, their music hits better than the Mario games. Not by much, but I think the Sonic games hit harder.
I don't really associate music from Mario games.
So I'm not going to speak much about the Sonic music because I may talk about it a little bit later.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one, Chris.
Hint, hint, hint.
No, you're not the only one.
Anyway,
Chris.
Brandon, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, so as we were saying, like you guys went to watch Sonic the Hedgehog, when you guys actually watched something, and I've actually watched something which is not animated. I'm very happy to say this.
I've nearly had a heart attack. You can't do this to me, Brandon.
Hang on. Did you go halfway? Did you watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
No. This was a full TV show, and it's not. And I'm so happy I watched it, and that's Taskmaster.
Spoilers, season 13's on TV right now.
Yeah, oh my god, I absolutely love Taskmaster. I haven't loved a comedy show as much as this since, when Mock the Week was in its prime.
So
hang on. You said you've not watched an animated show. Are you sure Joe Irvine's not a cartoon? I'm pretty sure he was.
It's funny.
Taskmaster is so good.
It's funny you bring this up, Brandon, because I've been binging Taskmaster myself. So
how did you get hooked onto Taskmaster? For me, it was I had my work colleagues were just randomly talking about it one day, and then a few weeks, and obviously maybe a month or so passes, and then I just start seeing like clips of it just appearing on my Facebook feed, and every time I scroll through, I just watch it, and then I think I've maybe watched about a dozen of them, and I'm just like, okay, I need to watch this. Went onto YouTube, and as soon as I watched the first episode, I fell in love straight away, and I just binged watched all of season 1 and season 2 in just literally just the weekend. My god, it's so good.
I'm just gonna be like, that's not the real reason. The real reason is when we were recording episode 24, I mentioned I was watching Taskmaster, and you subconsciously forgotten that I mentioned it, but then subconsciously it's made you watch it. That's how I'm gonna believe.
No, it's Facebook. It's Facebook.
No, I've just finished season 5 and the first Champion of Champions, which is the champions of the first 5 seasons doing it's only 2 episodes, but they're another Taskmaster where to find out who is the best of the best. So, but I've really enjoyed Taskmaster, and I'm so excited to watch more as it goes on. As you were saying, it's like one of the best UK game shows I've watched in so long.
Honestly, I just love just how stupid some of these comedians are when they're doing some of these things, and just how creative some of them are. Like, I think the one that made me laugh, it's very rare that I actually watch something and it actually makes me burst out laughing as much as it has for Taskmaster.
Oh, yeah.
I think the one that got me the most and actually made me feel, it's just Joe Wilkinson. You know, when you got that hole in one.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I thought that was hilarious. And then they disqualified him because his toe was on the red.
I love, Tim Key was absolutely brilliant in season 1. He was so funny.
Honestly, because I've never really heard of Alex Horne until... Obviously, I saw Taskmaster advertised on the TV like years ago, but never really just got into it. But it's only just been like now I've just started watching them. Just like, I mean, I just find it weird that, you know, Alex Horne wrote all the tasks and the script and everything.
He's the creator.
He's not acting like the main guy. Yeah, he's acting like Greg Davies' secretary, and I just love the way like his comedy hits me just right in that perfect spot.
So, he's got that face where he'll make his facial expressions and like the comedians will do something and he'll just make an expression and it's absolutely brilliant.
Like I just love, like I said, his interaction with Greg Davies, and Greg is like, "How are you doing, Alex?" "Oh, Greg, I think you're absolutely fantastic. You're doing a great job. Do you want some raisins?" It's just this. Oh. But yeah, anyone who hasn't seen anything with Taskmaster, please do. It's an absolute joy to watch. Like, if you're ever having like a gloomy day, just watch 5 comedians trying to figure out how to build the tallest like mountain out of potatoes, or trying to make a potato stand as high as it can on a bridge. And some of the ideas they come up with, or propel a pea as far as you can.
I think because I've just finished season 5 and like now I've watched 5 seasons, I can got a feel of like which seasons so far have been like my favourites and which have been my least favourites. So far, season 4 has been my favourite, and I really like season. I've liked them all, but like you can see like there is a quality with the comedians of how good they are or not, and for me, season 4 was just on fire. Everyone was just so good. You had Hugh Dennis, you had Joe Lycett, you had Noel Fielding, you had there was a comedian I didn't actually know her, and then it had was it Mel who was on Bake Off, originally on Bake Off, and it was so funny. It was absolutely amazing, and I've just finished season 5, and it had I'm gonna already forget. It had Bob Mortimer. It had Nish Kumar. I'm literally gonna forget everyone. Had Sally Phillips. I had Alison Brie. And I can't remember the last guy, but it was so funny. In season 5, it had probably the funniest answer to a task I've seen so far. I was like, I can't believe this was allowed and was on TV. It was so funny, and said person, I actually can't believe they don't win season 5. I was like, I can't, but like I initially when they were on, I was like, they're going to be the most boring person. They turned out to be the best, and I can't believe they didn't win season 5. It's so good. Who have you enjoyed?
Literally, I love Joe Wilkinson. It doesn't matter what Joe Wilkinson is in. I just love what he. I just love it. who else have I really enjoyed? Obviously, I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I've seen the first part of season 3. Now, I'm still got to warm up to the season 3 cast. But I think, obviously, Paul Chowdhury, I know, is going to make me laugh. Ramesh has been hilarious. Because obviously it was just like trying to make Ramesh as miserable as possible, and the fact that Ramesh was like giving up his marriage certificate and things like that. Because obviously at the start, I don't know if you know, Chris, have you seen any Taskmaster episodes?
I have not. I know we mentioned it on the last episode, and I had a tab open ready to watch it, but I accidentally closed down my laptop.
Yeah, but so the first challenge of any episode of Taskmaster is Alex Horn and Greg will give him like something they have to bring in, and whoever brings in the one that impresses Greg, or that Greg likes the most, get the first sets of prizes.
Yes,
yeah, the prize task. And like Ramesh like brought in his marriage certificate, his wedding ring, and he lost them.
And he brought in a car.
Brought in a car. But I think of the prizes, the one that made me laugh was in season 3. It was like bring in a clock. So obviously Sarah Pascal, she brought in a clock. What's his name? Rob Beckett brought in a sundial.
Yeah.
Al Murray brings in an oven because it's his only item with a clock on it. And then Dave Gorman is like, oh yeah, I've brought in something much fancier than an oven. I brought in a microwave. Because it's got a clock on it. And it's just like some of these things they bring in as prizes are just so hilarious.
And Paul Chowdhury just brings in a normal clock. I don't know. I was very hit and miss with Paul Chowdhury personally, but
I love Paul Chowdhury. I watched all his like stand up stuff while I've been at work. It just hits me in the right spot.
I think I just don't really know him compared to everyone else, so I don't know. His comedy really was really hit and miss for me.
That's fair enough, but that's the thing, because it's like showing you 5 comedians for a good 5 episodes. It gives you a chance to actually warm up to said comedian, whereas on like a panel show, you probably only see them like once in that episode. Like you don't actually get to, for a good 5 or 6 episodes, like you can actually build up with like the comedian. So I thought that's been quite great.
Because when I was first watching it, I thought it was like different people each week.
I thought that's what it was going to do, but then it was like the same cast. So I was like, what?
Yeah, and then I was like, wait, so each season has the same 5 contestants?
I thought that's brilliant.
6 to 8 episodes. Well, I think the later ones are like 10 episodes now. I know season 13, which is airing, is 10 episodes. I was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't even realise, and now it's like, I'm so interesting to see who's going to be next on in each season.
Mm.
If we've got time after recording, I'm going to start season 6 before I go to bed.
I think I'm going to watch one before I go to bed as well.
It's like 45 minutes, and it's such an easy watch. I know.
Oh my god, the time passes so fast when I'm watching them. Like it feels like as soon as I put it on, it's just like, oh, that's 45 minutes of my life gone. But I feel like I need another one. Yeah. And then before I know it, it's like gone past midnight. I'm like, oh shit.
I know. Season 6 has got Alice Levine on, so I'm looking forward to seeing her in action. Well, I know we mentioned a Jim Carrey film earlier, but I actually did watch another Jim Carrey film last week.
The Grinch?
No. I watched probably what I might be his best film, actually. I finally watched Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. It was
really good film.
Yeah, it's amazing. Basically about 2 people who go and have an operation to forget that they've been in a relationship with each other, and it's like deconstructing it all, and it's absolutely fantastic. I didn't realise how many actors were in this film. It has Elijah Wood in, Kirsten Dunst, obviously Jim Carrey as the main character. It has Kate Winslet as the main female character, and then it's got I'm gonna forget his name already. Has Mark Ruffalo as well, and I can't remember the guy who like runs the organisation. I recognise him, but I can't remember his name. You know who I mean, Chris? Do you?
I'm just looking up now because I have watched it, but not for a very long time. In fact, I think I watched it when it first came out,
Oh,
which was 2004. So yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen it last. It is a good film, though.
oh yeah,
Charlie Kaufman, is that who you're thinking of?
might be, but no, it's been ever since I really heard about this film. It's been a film I really wanted to watch, and it was on Netflix for a time. Then it got taken off, and now it's come back. And I was like, right, I have to watch it now. And so I set myself an evening to watch it, and I was just immersed by it. I thought it really gets you thinking on like relationships and the bonds you have with people and the memories, and it was really interesting, and I don't know, it was just really just really good. It was just really good. I don't really know, like it was thought provoking, but it was also just really good and fun to watch, as well as like also being quite harrowing in certain aspects. But
Yeah, I'd say of all his films, it's like Jim Carrey's like most serious role.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty heart wrenching as well.
like,
I was about to say, maybe you have seen it. You just had to proceed you to get that you've seen it.
maybe. Like yeah, he definitely like he's not doing his comedy slick.
Very much no.
No, and he definitely does this. He does so well. Like,
And so does Kate Winslet.
oh yeah, I think this is the only other film I've seen with Kate Winslet in. Or that I might be wrong. I may have seen another one, but I think the only other film is Titanic. But
She's in those films where things happen. There's other people there.
I think I have seen her in something else, but I can't really remember. I don't really know what she's in.
Films.
Well, yeah, I know that, but well, she's not even 50. Oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah, well, there you go. No, I like I said, I watched that, and it was amazing, and definitely recommend it for if anyone's not seen it. But it's also not. I wouldn't say it's the most. Subject matter isn't the most pleasant at times.
Yeah, if you want to watch a film, it's like, oh, I love rom comedies, but I really wish they're really fucking depressing.
Yeah.
Then go for it. It is a good film,
No. I know we've got a subject we want to talk about, but I've got one last thing I want to mention. I did play another game. I know. I played Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the new Borderlands game.
Now, I'm intrigued to see what you say about this, because I do want to get this. I've generally heard it's better than Borderlands 3.
And
what are your thoughts?
I've played... How much have I played? Maybe a good 6 hours? No, have I played about... Maybe 4, 5... Yeah, maybe 4, 5 hours, maybe 6. I don't know. Around those 4 to 6 hours. I'd say about 4 to 6 hours of this game. Yeah, it's definitely better than Borderlands 3. I'll tell you that.
Good.
To be honest, it didn't have to do much to be better than Borderlands 3. I think sadly, ever since Borderlands 2, there's always been the same. I think every Borderlands game has done the same thing, and sadly, my mate said something to me, and I was like, "I bet it's going to do this," and it did the exact thing I didn't want it to do, story-wise. But oh well. At the end of the day, I'm sure it'll all be sunshine and rainbows at the end. But so far, I've been enjoying it, but it's plays very differently to like the other Borderlands game because it plays very much like a D&D game, like an actual game of D&D. So, as you know, Chris, when you start like a Borderlands game, you pick one of 4 characters or however many characters you have. Normally 4.
You sort of customize on this one, don't you?
Yeah, so on this you get 6 classes. So you get to customize your character, make them look however you want to make them look. And then you've got 6 classes. And they're all like tailored to like D&D classes. So you got like one that has like a wyvern, one that has like a skull, you got like a berserker one, you got like a mage, there's a few other similar ones, I can't remember them all. But you pick a class and that's your primary class. So from start to finish, that's what you have. And if you want to have a different primary class, you have to make a new character. It's just what it is. But when you get to a certain level, you can multi-class, so you can then get get a second class, and you can swap that class. So then you can mix and match classes with to have like different builds and that. Otherwise, environmental wise, it's what you would kind of expect from Borderlands. You got your towns and wilderness, as you probably expect with Borderlands, but the overworld is very different. So you know how, let's take Borderlands 2 for a good grand example. You have your little tutorial area, and then you go into like the next section where you beat what's he called? The fire guy. I can't remember what he's called. But you know which bit I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you get on the boat with Claptrap.
Aye.
So if it's kind of like a similar section to that, maybe not, but after that, where obviously you go to like a different area in Tiny Tina's Wonderland, it goes to like a map, and it's like overhead, and it works more like a D&D map where you're like these bobblehead versions of your character, and you just walk around, and it has like patches of grass where if you walk into them, it'll bring out an encounter, and then you go into like a literally like a random battle. And then it's just basically taking the piss out of D&D and like RPG stuff, and it's quite interesting and it's fun, and you get like side quests, and there's like D20s you can find that give you money, and like other little side quests that you can do going around, and it's been, from what I play, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing more. But so far, it's winning me over more than Borderlands 3 did.
Oh, that's good. So I think a misstep that 3 did.
Yeah.
Is that they sort of have the Borderlands have a sort of certain character archetype where they're all a bit quirky, but somewhere along the lines, like Borderlands 3 sort of drop the whole. Well, they try to make it quirky and instead replace quirky with loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
somehow missed the comedy part. It's like, yeah, streaming isn't like the same as being funny, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that's how it felt anyway. I mean, I still enjoy Borderlands 3. It still had its moments. Like,
Yeah.
I thought the best part of the game for me was like the mission where you're going through, is it the Maliwan building, through the corporate offices, and you're on the trail of Zero.
Oh yeah.
They're trying to make it like Zero's like the assassin. Clearly, he's not. But I
Yeah.
thought that was like the best part of the game. Yeah. Narrative-wise, it was quite strong, and it had a couple of good laughs in it.
Mm.
And the boss fight is pretty good as well. I think it's the hardest boss in the game I had. It actually put up a bit of a challenge. And it's a bit more unique to the other ones. It wasn't just like a damage sponge. You actually had to think. Yeah, strongest part of the game for that. It's the one the part of the game I remember the most, at least.
Yeah.
But
Well,
no, I'm glad. I want to check that out. But
yeah, I've been playing with my mate, and we've been really enjoying it. So I started as I think it's called the Clawbringer. That's the class I started as, and he started as the class that has the like the school familiar. But I know he's said that now he's got his second class. He got the Wyverns familiar, so he's now got two familiars going around dealing damage.
okay. I do have to ask a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you think it would stack if you just played it solo rather than your friends?
I think it's going to be like every other Borderlands game.
Fair enough. Well, I'm okay with that.
I think like it'll play solo like every other Borderlands game. Personally, I've not played most of what I've played has just been with my mate. I've not really played much solo, so I kind of don't really know. But from what me and my mate has been said, it plays very much the same solo as the other Borderlands games do.
Cool. Yeah, I do just wonder because there's like a heavy emphasis on the multiplayer. A lot of games lose their shine when you take away that. Like if you play it like single player, either the enemies are complete bullet sponges and you can't kill them because the game's reliant on you having multiple players. Borderlands tends to do that when you start playing on like the new game plus parts and like the raid bosses. It's like, yeah, you can't do this as like one person. No matter what level you are, you could be max level with the best equipment, you're still not doing it.
Well, what this new one does have is it has a few different difficulty levels, and then it also has two different ways on how you get loot. And also, so when my mate came into my game, and he was like, "Oh, these enemies are this level," and I was like, "Oh, well, this same enemy is this level." So both of us were seeing the enemy as different levels for each of us, which is kind of weird and a bit interesting.
Okay. Oh, I see. So the scales are able. That's interesting.
I think so far one of my favourite bits of the game was you have to get on a boat, and then they're like, "Oh wait, it needs to be fixed." Oh no, not that it needs to be fixed. It needs a it needs a navigator or captain or whatnot. Yeah, I think you need a navigator, and like it gives you an option of no, I can navigate to this place on my own, and so I just went on, and I just watched as my mate just watched as I was on this boat, and it just sank down to the bottom of the sea, and then obviously I died and then came back. And then it's just like, no, you definitely need this navigator. You can't get there without it. But it was just fun that I could actually get on this boat and just try and navigate to this island.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, it's always good when they put a little community bits like that in. Keeps you more invested.
I do have a quick question though, Dan, regarding Tiny Tina's. Obviously, I've never played any of the Borderlands games, so do I need to play? Do you think I necessarily need to play any of them to get a flavor regarding Borderlands before I play Tiny Tina's, or can I go straight into Tiny Tina's?
I think we've said about this before, but
yeah, I just can't remember.
Yeah, I think both Chris and I said like Borderlands 2 is a great one to get into.
It's fantastically good.
I still think Borderlands 2 is the best Borderlands by a mile.
It's the only one I've done a 24-hour charity marathon for. Let's put it that way.
I've got all the trophies and achievements before.
I'll say the only Borderlands game I've got is the Handsome Collection.
Well, then you got Borderlands 2 on that.
Wicked.
Yes.
But with Tiny Tina's, you don't need to play anything prior. It might help because you might be like, who the hell is Tiny Tina? And why is she doing a D&D game? Because that it might confuse you, but because that's DLC in Borderlands 2.
Okay.
You don't really need to play any of it, really. It's got in the game. It's got Andy Samberg is one of the NPC characters that you kind of go through the game with. It's quite cool. Well, do we want to go on to our topic?
Sure.
Yeah, we've been in that one for a little while now. So,
Introduce Chris.
The topic. I've got to confess, I was listening to a different podcast, which I shall quickly crowbar in now. Fuck it while I'm here. So, there's a podcast entitled Retro Smashed. And I found this podcast via one of my Twitch regulars, whose streams we both hang out in. Twitch.tv, that's Weldy time. And him and his friend do a podcast called Retro Smashed. And they do like a very similar show to ours, except there's two of them. They're US based, and they mainly focus on retro games. But on their latest episode, we got called out as being their sister show.
Do you know which episode that is?
I believe it's the latest one. I haven't listened to it yet, but I was speaking to Weldy.
Because they literally just released one today.
Channel. Yeah.
I don't know if it's that.
I was literally speaking to him on Church Chat just the other day, and he said, we called you like our sister show. Like, you okay with that? I was like, yeah, of course. Cool. Because he listens to us as well, so... Well,
hi.
I know you're listening. Hey, buddy. Hey, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm downloading one of your episodes right now.
Well, so go check out Retro Smash if you like our content and want some others. So, getting back to my original point, their first episode.
Yeah, I've just seen it.
Is one where they talk about games that haven't held up well, and I was listening to it and I was thinking, hey, how come we haven't done that yet? That seems like such an obvious topic. So we're stealing their idea. Sorry, liberating their idea. So we thought we'd talk about games that we think haven't held up all that well. I feel we must prefix this before anyone gets into any arguments. That we're not saying these games are bad. We're just saying they haven't held up as well as we remember. Especially when you're playing, when you play a game as a kid and you think, oh, it's like the best game in the world. And then you play it when you're older and you think, this is actually a bit shit and janky. Why did I have the patience to play this? I'm like, no way I could do it. But yeah, so we thought we would pick like 3 games apiece and just go off on one.
Roll with the punches.
Have a bit of an event. So who would like to go first?
I'm going to go first only because we spoke about Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So I've got a Sonic game.
Is it Sonic the Hedgehog 1 by any chance?
No.
Is it not as fast as you remember?
No.
Go on.
This is a game that I remember. I got it on the PC. I can't remember where I got it. It must have been like one of those trips to like Curry's or PC World back in the day, and my mum and dad bought me this game because Sonic, and I was like, oh yeah, Sonic, and it's Sonic R.
Sonic
What?
R.
Sonic R. It's the racing game where you're not in vehicles, you are the actual characters racing one another. And I think this was on originally, which I didn't actually know this until recently. I think it is on the Sega Saturn. I think it's on the Sega Saturn originally.
Yep, I remember it coming out.
I think I know. I think I'm pretty sure because I recently, because this is all because of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, seeing it in the cinema. I listened to the Sonic the Hedgehog 30th anniversary album, and on the Sega Saturn medley, it instantly starts with Sonic R music. So I was like, oh,
everybody supersonic racing.
I love the music to Sonic R. That's like the best thing.
I think a lot of people do it. I think that for a lot of people, it's a guilty pleasure.
It is. It's so good. But then the gameplay is so janky.
Oh yeah.
It's so bad. I kind of really want to replay it just to be like, oh, why?
For my understanding, if you play as, I think there's 6 playable characters, but 2 of them, I think one of them's Robotnik.
There's
2
10 playable characters.
Yeah, 10. I know a couple of them, like Robotnik, is like in a vehicle, which is fine, but apparently it's something like they can't jump. There's 2 characters that just flat out can't jump.
Yeah.
So that just means like you cannot get some of the Chaos Emeralds, like the collectibles, in the races, because you literally have no limit. You can't do it. You physically can't do it. So if you're playing as them, it's like, tough shit, mate. You ain't doing that. You want that, you need to play as Sonic. It's called Sonic R, not Robotnik R. You pleb.
So the 10 characters you got in the game, you had obviously what you mainly think of when you think of Sonic. So you get Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and you get Robotnik, and then you also get Amy, and she's in her car. Robotnik's in his little vehicle as well, and then obviously you unlock Robotnik by beating all the by winning all the races, and then by getting the coins in each level, you get Metal Sonic, Tails Doll, Metal Knuckles, and then and then you get Egg Robo, and then if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you get Super Sonic.
Ooh.
I know, as a point of contention, the Tails doll has been the subject of some like Sonic got creepypasta stuff.
Yep.
Because he's just got like cold dead eyes that just staring into your soul.
No, like there's a weird charm to this game, and I kind of love it because of that, but it does not play well. I'll put it there. Like there's a bit where I think it's in like the power plant level where I always remember trying to get one of the coins, and I just get stuck in the corner trying to get the coins, just trying to turn around the janky fucking body of whatever character I'm playing as. Probably Sonic. But like I remember playing like 2-player with my brother, trying to do all these levels, trying to like racing against him back in the day on the PC. How times have changed. If you wanted to, like, you can play it on the PlayStation 2 and GameCube because it's on the Sonic Gems collection, I think.
Mm-hmm. I have the Sonic Gems collection in my hands, and I can confirm it is on there, along with Sonic CD and Sonic the Fighters.
Yep.
But more importantly, it's got Tails Sky Patrol on it as well. You know, that classic.
Mm.
There we go.
Who's next?
Go on, Brad.
Shall I go next? Okay, so the game I'm going to mention is, I wouldn't say it's that old, but I just feel like it just doesn't play as well as what it bloody should do. And especially after a re-release of it, which I thought, okay, this re-release might look pretty fun. Only to be blocked behind a massive paywall and it being exclusively online only. And that's Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I say Star Wars Battlefront itself hasn't aged well is, it's a third-person shooter, but the controls it's not very smooth. And the fact that you can have, all of a sudden, this Jedi just comes out of nowhere, and you can't play as a Jedi at this moment in time of the game. And it's like, well, I'm going to die. And the only map pretty much on the game where you're able to kill a Jedi is on Bespin, where you can knock them off Cloud City. No, Geonosis, isn't it? Is it? No, or is it Bespin? Yeah, it's Bespin, where you can knock them off the platforms. It's the only time you can kill one of these bloody Jedis. The actual controlling of all like the airships is also quite jank. You can just smack into things randomly. Like, you could just be flying around in a TIE fighter and you just blow up because you accidentally hit an invisible wall. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, because the reason why I also mentioned the remake is when EA remade Star Wars Battlefront 1, you could tell it tanked, because you can now see it in CEX for like £3 because it just does not play well at all, and it's not even that old. It's just exclusively online. There's no bloody. I thought, like, my biggest selling point for the Star Wars Battlefront games is, when you can go into like the against the AIs, you can set like the actual limit of the amount of troops you can fight and everything like that. I absolutely adored that part in the Star Wars Battlefront games, but it just, I don't know, if it just doesn't play well anymore. Like, you can just get hit by a grenade, go flying, stand up, and then you drop dead, or you just it just doesn't make sense sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's okay in general, but when I went to replay it, I think I went to replay it during lockdown. I was like, okay, let's bust out the PS2 and have a go at these, because I used to love playing them when I was like a teenager. It just couldn't play well at all. It was just too clunky for me. So I'll probably have to say this. If they do a really, really good remake of it and continue the AI face-off thing, which I don't know if they did. Was there a Star Wars Battlefront 2 remake?
There was a Battlefront 2, but I don't know if it wasn't a remake. It's the same thing.
There's never been a remake of any of the Star Wars Battlefront games.
No. Well, they're not really games, are they? They're Battlefront ones. They're just like microtransaction stores.
EA completely ruined games. Yeah, I just give me those like Star Wars Battlefront against the AIs, and I'll be happy, because they were so fun to play. Yeah, but as of now, nah, I can't go back to them anymore. Like, I used to love them as a kid, but I can't play them now as an adult. Chris?
I guess it's my turn. Well, I'll do a quick honourable mention, because I think I've mentioned it before. Plus, Dan's been talking about it already. But I will just give a quick shout out to Sonic Adventure.
Fuck off.
Is that one you had?
No, I love Sonic Adventure.
Oh, no.
Especially Sonic Adventure 2.
I
love that game.
I'm not saying it's a bad game. What I am saying is, I remember playing it fine. I loved the game back when it first came out on the Dreamcast. But when I replay it, it's the camera's so broken. And I don't remember it being broken, but it's so broken. Like, halfway, sometimes when you do on the platforming sessions, the camera's so zoomed out that you can't tell what you're jumping on. Like, you can't tell whether, like, you're on the 3D plane, so is the platform to the left of you? Is it in front of you? Is it to the right of you? I don't know. I'm just going to have to jump and just cross my fingers and somehow land in the same general direction.
I will see. I have to completely agree with you. The Sonic Adventure cameras in Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 is dire. Like, I think I've lost most of my in-game lives because of the camera just not doing what it should do. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah, there's a couple of points. It does in Sonic Adventure 2, actually, where the most notable one, I think, is like when you're going at high speed, and the camera just changes position, and the direction you thought you were going, you were no longer going. You were going at a complete 90-degree angle. Like there's some high section bits where you're going through like some tree trunks on a slope. And when I replayed it, I died like 3 times on the same bit because I thought I was going in a straight line, and I was until the camera panned, and suddenly I was doing like a hard right and just fell off the ledge immediately with like 0.2 femtoseconds to react to it. So, and it did that several times. It's like, what? But I'm just pressing the same direction. I haven't changed anything. Like, oh dear. And then there's like the other thing, like it's if you're in like close quarters with something like a boss fight, the camera's got a fascination with the corner of the boss arena, and will just focus on the direct corner, directly on top of your head, so you can't see anything apart from the top of your character's head. Yeah, but the thing fighting me is over there. I can't see it. Oh god, this is awful. But yeah, I say I just wanted to give that a quick honourable mention because again, it's Sonic again. So no, the one I want to bring up. Again, I like this game, but not as much as I used to by far. In fact, it's one of my least favourite out of the series now, and that's Resident Evil 0. Purely because the inventory system is absolute dog shit. I'm sure people know like the Resident Evil, like the traditional games, you only have about 8 to 6 inventory slots, and that's fine because you've only got one character. In 2, you constantly juggle between 2 characters who have only got a very small inventory each, and to kick you in the teeth, like the shotgun, which is one of the main weapons you'll use, and the hook shot, which is an item you use several times throughout the journey, and it's pretty much will carry around with you for quite a while, take up 2 inventory slots. And you basically, you're not playing Resident Evil, you're spending 90% of the game just in the inventory section, constantly farting around, moving items around between the 2 characters. And it's just not fun. It's like every time I pick up a new item, you don't want to. It's like, for fuck's sake, now I've got to like inventory again. Oh, you got a key item. What is it? Oh, it's something that takes 2 inventory slots, because of course it fucking does.
I can somewhat sympathise because obviously the first ever Resident Evil game I played was a Village, and again it was the same thing. I was like, okay, I can't pick this up, so now I've got to play Tetris with my bloody inventory to try and figure out where I could fit this.
See, I thought the 1 in 8 was fine.
see, yeah, but that was my introduction to it. I was like, every time I was like, okay, what's the most optimal way I can position all these items? But I can't imagine if you had a smaller inventory, that would be horrible.
I'd say just for the polar opposite, I think one of my favourite inventory systems ever in any game is Resident Evil 4's.
It is so good.
It is really good. It's so satisfying. There are literally ASMR videos on YouTube of people just sorting out the inventory in Resident Evil 4, just putting all the items together in order. It's like putting all the healing items, all the handgun ammo to one side, just playing Tetris with it. It's like a mini game in itself, but fun. It is basically Tetris, but it's fun. And then you get people a bit OCD who want all their things in a certain way. So you can actually spend just minutes just farting around the inventory, but you're having fun doing it. But yeah, Resident Evil 0 for just that reason alone goes on the oh dear spectrum. I mean, I suppose that's always been the case, but I think with how this series has progressed, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, which I don't get with the other classic Resident Evil games. I don't get it. It's just this one in particular, but I think it's just because you're constantly swapping between 2 characters all the time. It just ruins the pace of the game. But yeah, that's one of mine. So that brings it round to Dan.
Okay.
That brings it round to Dan.
Okay. No, I did hear. I was like, okay. I think I am going to say this. I wasn't really sure, but I think I am going to say it. So, now that there's a remake of this game, except for nostalgia, there is no reason you should play the original games.
I really hope you're not going to say what you're going to say, because I'd probably pick the same one.
There's literally no point, because the remakes are 10 times better, and that's Pokemon Red and Blue.
Phew. Hey, don't you be dissing my Pokemon Red and Blue.
I'm not saying they're bad games.
Okay, that's fine.
But
I challenge you to...
Fire Red and Leaf Green are 100% better versions. Like,
I'm judging you harshly.
They fix Red and Blue in every way. It
didn't need fixing. The jank's part of the game.
It's a feature.
The badge boost glitch is a feature. Right?
They would have put it on the advertising box. Like, now it comes with this bog feature.
Do you want to sleep for 6 turns? Well, here you go.
Look. Fire Red and Leaf Green are inferior, and you know why? Because they're missing a Pokemon. Missing No is not in them. He's exclusive to Red and Blue.
Exactly. Come
and Green.
Fuck's sake. No, I think we'll always have a soft spot for Red and Blue. It has one of the best soundtracks of all time, and it started off Pokemon, but some of that combat can be really frustrating especially when you play like the latest Pokemon games and you go back to like Red and Blue. You're like, this combat has definitely been ironed out in a really nice way. So that's mainly it. It's just really the combat. It's not really anything else, really. That's all I'm saying.
Actually, there is one thing.
What?
And again, it's like Resident Evil 0. The inventory is really tiny in it.
Oh,
yeah.
You carry like
I
20,
hate
20
Gen
items.
1 inventory.
Yeah, that
you can only
is
carry
true.
20 items, and even your PC gets full after about 40 items.
Yeah.
So as soon as you pick up an item like X attack or Guard spec, to the shop, sold immediately. Alright. Don't hold on to TMs.
Yeah, I would say usually when I play like Gen 1, I'm just like, okay, I've maxed out my inventory and I'm halfway through a cave and I'm just like, okay, what can I drop so I don't need to go back to a Pokemon Center? Then I'll see like this list of TMs. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake. So the only way I can figure out what TM is which is I need to open them, activate the TM and see who I can give it to before I can make an active decision of, okay, now I can get rid of it. So it's like if I've got an inventory and all of a sudden like Double Edge is one of my TMs, I'm just like, for fuck's sake, which one's Double Edge? Which I'm like trying to go through and find which one is it so I can get rid of it.
Mm. Oh, it's worse when you right knee deep in a cave and
it's horrible.
Done like the optional stuff and you found it's like, oh, you found like a HP up. You can't pick it up because fuck you.
Oh yeah, but the bit that gets me is like this happened to me when I was in the Rockets base. Obviously, like you've got all the like really like expensive items there. This was when I was doing my Nuzlocke. Obviously, you go to an item to pick up. It doesn't even give you a description of what the item is. You go to pick up, it says, oh, inventory full. And it's like, oh, for goodness sake. So I don't know what this is. So I empty something out of my inventory just to pick it up and it's something useless. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, like, oh, you'll drop like a max potion to pick it up and you just get a regular potion. It's like, yeah. But apart from that, it's perfect in every single way.
Yeah. Okay, so my next game. Okay, I do have a reason why my next game doesn't play as well, and that's Wii Sports. And the only reason I'm mentioning Wii Sports is again when it came out 2006, I loved it. Like I loved doing the bowling. I loved everything. Like you could get your family involved in everything. Get the Wii Fit board out as well. Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, try play it now as an adult, Chris. But try play it now. Like you think, okay, we've got 15 more years of, dimensional, like tracking with like the wristband and everything.
Mm.
But it's just the Wii Sports. It just feels so outdated and clunky now. Like I remember trying to play the tennis. I flipped my wrist, to actually hit the tennis racket. All of a sudden, my character is flip-flopping everywhere with the tennis racket. I'm just like, no, I want you to hit the ball directly ahead, not over there in the greenery with the audience. yeah, I just can't see myself now like wanting to actually play Wii Sports. Like, I don't think there's any driving force for me to want to play anymore, unless like even to like modern like Wii games. It's just like, yeah, it just doesn't hit right like it used to anymore. Like I said, I used to love it when it came out, like the bowling, the gradual increase of the number of pins to hit down. I used to love that. And all like the sporty stuff when I was like during my GCSE like days, I was like, yep, this is brilliant. But yeah, it just doesn't. No, it doesn't play well at all anymore. I'm afraid, not anymore.
You know what we could say? The tagline to about every one of these games just hits different.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same anymore.
No, it hits different.
I think what this just says about all of us is like we're very rapidly losing patience as we get older. We're turning into grumpy old men.
Yeah.
I haven't got time for this shit anymore. I don't know. My turn then, I guess. So I'll bring this up because I thought for a second, Dan, you were going to choose the same game as me because I'm pretty much thinking the same thing. There's no reason to play this now. Like, the remakes exist. I suppose you could apply this to a couple of games in the series, but I'm specifically going to go with Metroid 2 Return of Samus on the Game Boy. Because it's a good game, but there's literally no reason to play it. Now, now the 3DS remake exists, and the in my opinion, the far superior AM2R, which everyone can get and download for free. I'm not going to tell you where. Just Google it. That game's phenomenal. That's probably I'm not going to lie. That's probably my second favorite Metroid game. AM2R. That game's fucking brilliant. But yeah, the original Metroid 2, as you may know, obviously black and white. Samus's sprite is absolutely huge and takes up about 20% of the screen. It doesn't have a map, so unless you like playing it in like one or a couple of sessions, like relatively close time frames, so you know where you are and where you've yet to go. If you put this game down for like a week and come back to it and think, okay, where do I need to go now? You may as well just restart the fucking game. Yeah, because that happened to me a couple of times. In fact, it's one of my... Because I played it when I was a kid, it's one of the first games I remember getting like truly lost in, just playing it for hours and making no progress. I was just like looping back the same areas again and again. It's one of the first times I remember being a bit frustrated for that reason. It's like, I was quite happy playing it because it's Metroid and Metroid's great, but I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was just like looping back on myself and was like, why am I here again? The music, well, it doesn't really have music. It's just got a few bleeps and bloops and sound effects.
I was going to say just a few bleeps and bloops.
Yeah, but it really is. But that's not really a limitation on the hardware. They could do music. Just look at like Mario Land. Got a fucking great jingle. Or the Kirby music, for example. It's supposed... I think they were going for atmospheric, but there's one track in particular, it really does sound like a random mismatch. Like there's no melody or anything, it's just notes here and there. And they're a bit harsh on the ears. But, as I say, because the remakes exist, there's literally no point playing it. And I suppose you could say the same about the original Metroid on the NES.
Yeah.
You've got Zero Mission.
Zero Mission.
Just play Zero Mission.
Zero Mission is fantastic.
It's, for all intensive purposes, exactly the same game. The maps... I wouldn't say it's like one-to-one, but it doesn't need to be. Because the map in the first game is just long and straight corridors of nothing. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's my second choice. I don't say don't play it, but I think the only reason to really have it now is just for like, a collection or just to say you've got it. So, I can just say I've got it. I'm staring at it on my shelf now. In its box. I wonder if that's worth any money.
Probably not.
Probably not. No. Dan, your turn.
I've got two. I'll only say what I'll pick. I don't know. I spoke about both of these games before on past episodes, but I don't know. I think I've already mentioned a funny story about it, so I guess I'm gonna just pick the other one, which might be a bit controversial, but I think the resurgence of it kind of said everything, and because I already knew how people would feel over it, and then it came true, and that is Crash Bandicoot 1 on the PS1.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
So, but also we've got the Insane Trilogy, and the Insane Trilogy made Crash Bandicoot 1 playable.
Now, I'll very quickly show. Are you sure that the first game on that collection is Crash Bandicoot? Because as far as all the journalists said, they said it was a game called Dark Souls. It wasn't Crash Bandicoot. I've got a bit confused there.
So like, whenever anyone talks about before the Insane Trilogy, whenever everyone that ever talked about Crash Bandicoot, it was like, oh yeah, it was so good and all that. But I remember I got Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2 because I always had. I've had 3 since I was a kid, but I didn't have 1 and 2. I got them back in 2014, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited to play Crash 1 and Crash 2. And then I played them, and I was like, well, Crash 2's fine. Crash 1, I don't think people have played this in a while, because this is really frustrating. I spent over an hour on a level, lost all my lives, and lost 2 hours of gameplay because I could not save.
Yeah. So
And
so if you're unaware, the save system in it, you can only save the game at set points when you've got like a crystal or collectible, which you have to like put off normally a really hard platforming challenge in order to get. That's the only way you save in the game.
Yeah, now you got the Insane Trilogy. That game is playable, but I commend people who have 100%ed the original Crash Bandicoot, because that game for casual players is really unplayable.
Well, you'll be happy to know that you don't have to congratulate me. I had that game when it first came out, and yeah, I used the level select code an awful lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. This old Crash one.
So it was nice to get the Insane Trilogy and actually play Crash 1, because it was like, it's so much of our childhood, the Crash games, so it was nice to play it like to a point like it was intended to, and to have the nice option to save after every fucking level, like in Crash 2 and 3. You can.
For me, that was a nice change, because I never played 2 or 3 on the original PlayStation. I only played 2 and 3 on the remaster. So it's it's a nice feature to have, isn't it? You take for granted like the fact that games auto save and you just save wherever you want for the most part now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than like playing a game and then realizing you've just lost several hours progress on it. You forgot to manually save.
At least now with like Soulspawn, it's just when you die with loads of souls, it's like
yeah,
that's your equivalent.
Well, I don't have that problem because I'm good at the game. Oh, here's the part where Spanky casually says that he's platinum Golden Ring.
No, you casually go, I'm secretly, let me solo her.
Wow. I would be, but that person's got a pot on his head, so he's using armor. So that guy's a little bit. Fucking armor. That's a scrubs, mate. Oh dear. No, I'm sure that guy's fine. I've not actually come across him on my playthroughs.
Just so people are aware, there is a guy who has a pot and has swords, and he puts his summons down next to the hardest boss in Elden Ring, and his name is Let Me Solo Her.
Yeah, he just likes to fight that same boss over and over.
One of the first legends of the community.
So people summon him, and they just allow him to fight the hardest boss in the game on his own.
Yeah, he literally just wants them to stand back and just let him do it.
Yep.
It's fair enough. Well, they've not put bonfire aesthetics in the game, so how else?
Brandon, your game.
Okay, so this is a game I don't know if any of you two have played this game, and it's on the PlayStation 1, and it's a little game called Army Men Sarge's Heroes. Have you ever played that game?
I played Army Men Air Attack, but not Sarge's Heroes.
So for those of you so have you ever heard of it, Chris?
I know the series, but I've never played it. My cousin used to love them. I think he played like all the games.
So for anyone who doesn't know, so Army Men Sarge's Heroes is, if you look at Toy Story, the little green soldiers in that game, or in that film, it's basically a game about little like green soldiers, which you probably would have played as like a kid, like like a couple centimeter tall, like soldiers which you can have in like prone or crouched, laying down, standing up with guns in it, etc. So it's a game about these green toy soldiers against the tan toy soldiers. And it was like probably like one of my favorite third-person shooters as a kid on the PS1. Like, obviously, I adored that game to bits. But where it starts to then draw back is, obviously, it's a shooting game which came out on the PlayStation 1. So the first problem we have here is there's no analog stick. So that already puts you at a disadvantage when it comes to controlling and aiming. Because you have to like use the arrows to try and figure out what you're doing. You're like, okay, I have to press R, I think it's like R1 L1 to move forwards, and then it's like the directional buttons to choose where you're looking. But luckily it auto aims slightly, but I think the frame rate is like 8 frames per second or less. Like the whole game is I watched a recent playthrough. I literally watched a quick first few minutes of it just to remind myself of how bad it was. I'm like, oh my god, the frame rate is so bad. The rendering distance in it is so bad. Like, you can hear like tanks in the distance, but you're just like, in terms of like, when I say in the distance, I mean like 6 feet in front of you. You can hear this tank, but you can't see it because of the fog wall. So you've got that problem there. Like the game's relatively short. It's a fun playthrough, like, playing as a toy soldier, like playing a game as a toy soldier. But yeah, the controls are jank, the gameplay is jank, the camera is jank, the frame rate is jank. Oh my god! Like, again, I reckon I said this again about Star Wars Battlefront. But if they do like a remake of like a toy soldiers game, I think it'd be a very pleasant play. Like, in terms of like actual aesthetics, I don't think in recent times there's not been any game made about toy soldiers, has there? Hello?
No. I've never played it, so I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Nah, so I think there's a gap in the market if anyone wants to pursue it and remake the Army Men, like the Army Men games. But yeah, oh my god, like it played awful. Like, one of the parts of the game is like you wouldn't be able to know where a mine is. Like a roadside mine. You wouldn't know where a mine is unless you use the minesweeping tool. So you'd have to use the minesweeping tool to go over a minefield, and then all of a sudden these mines will appear. You can still blow them up just because you found them, but yeah. So imagine like you're not allowed to cross this area until you find the mines, but you can't. But you have to use this minesweeping tool to get past the mines, but you still might get shot at the same time. Yeah, it was a very, very challenging game at times. Like I said, I enjoyed it very, very much as a kid. But I think to modern day standards, because obviously, controllers now are getting very, very smooth. Like with multiple directional points you can go to now on like analog sticks. But yeah, it did. Yeah, it doesn't play well now at all. I'd love to play it again if I could, but nah, not being that jank.
Well, I guess that's the 9 games.
No, I've got one more.
No, Chris has got one more.
You sure? You said Sonic Adventures and Resident Evil 0.
Yes, that's 2.
And Metroid 2.
Wait, no. You did say
I said I just wanted to give a quick mention.
Oh, yeah, Sonic was an honorable mention.
My mistake. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, technically, you're right. Yeah. If actually, I probably harped on about Sonic Adventure more than I did.
I think we did.
Oh, never mind. Well, before I launch into my last one, I just want to say thank you to the folks on Facebook who actually chimed in with this answer. Because we asked on Facebook. So I'd just like to say that one person shouted out Jersey Devil for the PS1. And I can confirm that game looks like a fucking nightmare to control. Every time you do a jump, it looks like you're not going to make it. Your character does like a sort of glide animation and then sort of flips onto the platform. So it looks like your like legs and torso have like halfway gone past the platform, but you still somehow make it. But to watch, it's just like, no, you fucked that up. So, yeah, that happens. Apart from the times, of course, where you have fucked it up. You've got no way of knowing because the animation's the same. And another chap has mentioned Blast Corps on the N64. Have you guys played that?
Nope. I know neither of these games I know of.
Well, Blast Corps on the N64. I still got my original copy of that. That game is kind of like it's quite unique. It's kind of like a puzzle / destruction simulator. Basically, what it is you've got like you've basically got a truck which has got like a sort of nuclear device on it, and it's like it goes in a straight line, but between there and its destination in every level, there's like a building complex or something. So you play as like someone whose like task it is to just basically clear the way. So you've got to destroy the buildings before it reaches them. As soon as it touches the building, the whole place will just go kaboom. You don't want that. That would be bad. But in it, you play as like a variety of vehicles. So it starts off quite easy. You play as like something like a bulldozer. So all you got to do is just basically drive into it and you'll destroy the buildings. Piece of piss. But then later on, you start playing as like stuff as bicycles, like specials like these machines, and you don't destroy buildings by just running into them. You've got basically like got to drift into them, like sort of power slide, knock them down. And obviously, while you're doing that, that's just awkward to control anyway. But it's by design, but depending on the level, you can have a fair bit of time to do that, or absolutely fuck all because this truck's got a very, very short route. Yeah. So yeah, I not played it again for years and years, but I think just the sheer difficulty of it itself would just be pretty trying. Yeah, you have to have a lot of patience for it. I think it's one of those games that starts off pretty easy for like the first couple of levels, and you think, this is all right, and then it gets to like level 4, and it's like, yeah, fuck you. You thought you had a handle on this, not anymore. You're not. We're having fun. Nope. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you to those that have answered questions. So
indeed,
again, if you keep doing it, we'll bring them during the episodes. So my last pick, it's a wild card. It's a trump card. It's not any particular game. I'm going to give this to every single 3D platform on the Saturn / PlayStation, particularly in the early days. Just every one. Why? Fucking camera controls.
Well, is this including games like Spyro, Croc, The Legend of Gobbos?
Yeah, shove them on. Yeah, every single one. Because there was no like universal control scheme at the time. Everything is just broken.
I was actually I would actually counter on this. I would say the Spyro trilogy is actually kind of an exception.
I'll say, yeah, Spyro seemed quite fair for the controls.
I'm thinking more like my early ones. Spyro came out a few years down the line. Spyro came out after like the analog controls came out. I'm thinking more specifically early stuff. Like, so you say like your Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Rascal as well. I know you love that one, Brendan.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, I'll just remind you of that. But yeah, something like Legend the Gobbo's like, there's literally every single one. There's every one. Because not one of them holds up.
No.
You might think they do. No, they do not.
They don't.
Trying to move in a 3D plane with a D-pad. And the control and a camera that does not follow you around or just does whatever the fuck it wants. Hell no. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with every single, let's say launch title. I guess every single fucking one. That on the Saturn as well. So I'm gonna do a bit of a retro week, and I was playing some old ROMs, and the thing that really threw me off is like if you play an old retro game, but use like a sort of modern controller like I do, like I use an Xbox controller to play retro games. For the most part, it's fine, except when you come to like early PS1 Saturn games, because you start to control them with an analog stick, and nothing happens, and you have to use like the D-pad to control them around. And I thought I broke the emulator; it just wasn't working because like. Why is nothing happening? Why is my character not moving? Because I can use the analog stick on like the NES games. The PS1 ones, he's like, nah, use the D-pad. Okay, fuck. We don't have analog support. It's really, really jarring. So yeah, as I say, wildcard entry. Every single PS1 Saturn game. As soon as they introduced 3D graphics, like everyone insisted that every game has to be 3D. Even though they do not hold up as well as much as the 2D ones, with like their beautiful pixel art. What would you rather have? Earthworm Jim 1 and 2 or Earthworm Jim 3D? Exactly. Stop there. You didn't even know there was an Earthworm Jim 3D.
No, I did not.
The rest is history.
Exactly. And that is where it shall stay.
Well, there you go. There's our games that don't hold up so well. I'm sure we could name many, many, many more and many other things.
Oh yeah, I very nearly went with Billy Hatcher.
Yeah, I was going to mention Jedi Power Battles only because that's janky as fuck.
Maybe we might have enough material for another round of this in the future.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we will. Yeah. Well, that was our games that we don't think held up so well. Do we have anything else we want to quickly crowbar in before we wrap up for this week?
I think I'm spent.
It's just the usual things, where Brandon, more Chris at the moment is on Twitch. Brandon will soon be there.
Don't get me started on setting up my PC. I was 1 meter short for setting up an Ethernet cable, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So now I've got to get another longer Ethernet cable because it doesn't fit.
Oh, the tragic thing is Brandon thought it would fit, but the way he was looking at it, his camera angle made it look like it would fit, but it didn't. It wasn't quite far enough.
Yeah, if I had a better camera angle, I would have been able to know exactly where I was aiming this Ethernet cable.
Yeah, you would have known it wouldn't have fit. You had to get a longer. Nope.
As always, where our socials are on Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, our links are normally on the podcast.
Again, why don't you guys? Why don't you let us know what you thought of Sonic 2? What other games really tickled your onions? And of course, check out Retro Smash podcast if you can. So stay on our good side, since we're their sister show.
Yeah,
which I suppose makes them our brother show.
I'll listen to them.
Yeah, I don't know why we got stuck with the sister moniker.
That's what it is.
We're well with it.
I listen to quite a few gaming podcasts now, and it's quite interesting listening to a few different ones and seeing how they approach things and stuff. I always have my favourite one. They released their new episode today, and it always feels like a nice comfort when it comes out. But it's been nice, like trying to branch out and listen to different gaming podcasts and seeing what they can offer differently compared to like my favourite one.
So it's like the opposite to when I have a poo, which is a mild discomfort every time it comes out.
Right.
See you then. What was the name of that podcast you mentioned earlier then?
It is the Play Cube Gamecast. I'll just check, but I think it's that. Yes, the Play Cube Gamecast. I probably will have done it by the time this episode's out, but I actually do plan on messaging them because when I listened to that Legend of Zelda episode, one of the guys mentioned what his favourite song was from Ocarina of Time, and I found a really good version of that song, and I actually want to message that podcast and let them know about this version of that song because it's my favourite version of that song, and if it's one of the guys, it's his favourite Zelda song, I think he deserves to hear this version of it. What's great about I know we're coming to the end, but what's great about this version is it does have the original composer on it.
Oh, sweet.
So it's the original composer joint with an artist that covers a whole load of music from games and TV shows. So they've come together to do a reimagining of this Zelda song, and they've done a whole EP. I re-listened to it after work today, and it's 25 minutes of absolute bliss.
Awesome. I tell you what, I'm surprised that none of us picked Song of Storms as our favourite one, since we literally have a podcast episode called that.
Yeah.
And you should totally listen to it. Link below.
I just think there's better Zelda songs, but Song of Storms is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, on that, we'll see you in 2 weeks. You'll hear us in 2 weeks. I always say that.
See you on our birthday.
See you in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, see you on our birthday.
It's our birthday.
Yeah,
do we have cake?
2 weeks. Be safe.
Sweet. Or down.
COVID's still about. I thought I still had COVID, and then I was like, no, it's just alcohol. I had like 12 cocktails in the space of 2 hours, so.
Oh, bloody hell.
It was fun. Bottomless brunch at Turtle Bay.
Bloody hell.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.